Closure is a lie we tell ourselves to feel safe. Think you need a detailed explanation to finally move on? You don't. What you're really chasing isn't closure. It's the comforting illusion that you mattered, that your presence left a permanent mark. And here's the brutal truth. Most of the time, she didn't ghost you because you weren't good enough. She ghosted you because you let your significance depend on her attention. He didn't owe you an explanation. He owed you nothing. Ask yourself this. Why do you sit awake replaying conversations, analyzing every text, scrolling for signs that she cared? Is it her actions that haunt you? Or the story you've been feeding yourself? Rewriting reality into the fantasy of importance. Most men mistake the echo of their own ego for evidence that they mattered. They mistake longing for love, attention for value. Let me paint it for you. He waits by the phone for 3 days. Each notification a spark of hope. Finally a reply, and it isn't closure. It's a rehearsal of your disappointment, a reminder that your value was never in her hands, it was always in your perception. You feel seen for a moment, but what you're really seeing is the projection you made of yourself onto her behavior. If he disappears, you don't chase. You build, you grow, you refine your standards. That's the rule every man who wants dignity must live by. Because chasing someone else's attention is a trap, a short-term high that chains you to their whims. Stop trying to harvest significance from absence. Here's another way to look at it. He didn't reject you because of your flaws. He rejected the version of you that believed your worth was contingent on his validation. She didn't ignore your messages because you weren't enough. She ignored them because you were enough to her curiosity, not her commitment. When you understand this, the pain loses its power. Rhetorical question. Are you waiting for her to tell you you mattered? Or are you ready to prove it to yourself by refusing to live in her narrative? The moment you stop chasing closure, you stop feeding the fantasy. You stop letting someone else define your importance. That's when real presence starts. That's when you reclaim your story. Micro's story. He keeps her photo pinned to his wall, revisiting it every night, tracing the curve of her smile in the dim light of his apartment. He's convinced it proves something, that she felt somewhere something for him. In reality, all it proves is that he's still chasing a ghost, while the real world waits outside his door. Here's a final brutal pivot. He didn't leave you because you weren't enough. He left you because your value was never self-contained. She didn't make you wait to hurt you. She made you wait to show you how dependent you were on her narrative. When you realize this, the illusion shatters. You see clearly, you were never meant to find closure from her words. You were meant to find it from yourself. Stop asking for explanations. Stop seeking validation. If he texts back, you observe without obsession. If he disappears, you disappear from the fantasy. You measure your significance by action, not attention. You create value in your presence, not in her absence. You don't chase closure because you're searching for truth. You're chasing the fantasy of significance. Ask yourself this: are you really seeking answers, or are you addicted to the idea that your presence must have left a mark? Most men think closure will heal them, but it doesn't. It only keeps you trapped in her story, not your own. He didn't ignore you because you weren't enough. He ignored you because your worth was tangled with his attention. She didn't leave you for reasons you can unpack. She left you to reveal the gaps in your self-respect. These aren't coincidences. They're lessons disguised as pain. Imagine this. He sends a late-night text out of curiosity. You read it, heart racing, analyzing every word. You convince yourself it means something monumental. The truth, it's just a flicker of interest, not validation of your significance. Every obsession over explanation is wasted energy. If he gives you mixed signals, you don't chase. You step back, you measure your value by actions, not by the crumbs he throws your way. Rhetorical question: do you want to live for her story? Or do you want to write your own? Do you want answers that soothe your ego? Or do you want power that no one can take from you? Micro story. He scrolls through old chats at 2 a.m., rereading messages, memorizing emojis, imagining meanings. He thinks he matters. He doesn't. The only thing that matters is the control he's willing to reclaim over himself. Reframe it. He didn't reject you to hurt you. He revealed where your standards were weak. She didn't ghost to punish. She reflected the attention you failed to give yourself. Understanding this is the pivot point. Obsession ends, self-respect begins. Society trains you to believe you need answers to heal, from movies to advice columns, from friends to social media. Everyone whispers the same lie: get closure and you'll feel better. But here's the brutal truth. Closure is an illusion, a temporary sedative for your ego. It doesn't free you, it chains you to the past. Do you really need her words, or are you addicted to the story you've been telling yourself about? Significance. Most men mistake explanation for meaning, forgetting that meaning lives in action, not attention. He didn't disappear to punish you. He disappeared to reveal your dependence on his presence. She didn't ignore your messages to hurt you. She ignored them to reflect how much you let your validation hinge on her behavior. The more you chase, the more trapped you become in a cycle of replayed texts, imagined scenarios, and internal arguments that go nowhere. Picture this: you waited by the phone for 3 days, heart racing with every notification. When she finally replied, it wasn't closure, it was a rehearsal of his rejection. Every word she typed, every delayed response wasn't an explanation. It was a mirror showing him how much he had surrendered his power. He felt seen for a moment, but only because he allowed his story to be written in someone else's hands. If he disappears, you don't chase, you don't text, you don't overanalyze, you build your routines, your presence, your standards. That's the rule every man who wants self-respect lives by. Chasing closure is chasing smoke, building is claiming fire. Ask yourself this: are you waiting for her to confirm your value? Or are you ready to create it for yourself? Are you living your life, or are you rehearsing someone else's? Obsession with answers keeps you frozen, replaying old scenes like a bad movie while the real world moves on without you. Microstory. He scrolls through old messages at 2 a.m., reading every emoji, every pause, imagining meaning in everything. He thinks he matters. The truth: he's still trapped in her absence, while the opportunity to matter to himself waits just beyond his bedroom door. Reframe it. He didn't reject you to make you feel small. He exposed where your standards were weak. She didn't ghost to control you. She reflected the gaps you tolerated in your own respect. Once you see it, the obsession loses its grip. You stop asking for explanations. You stop seeking validation. You stop pretending significance can come from absence. This is the pivot point where men break free from emotional handcuffs. Every unanswered message is not a threat, it's data. Every delay is not a punishment, it's proof of your power or lack of it. The moment you internalize this, you stop spinning in the past and start directing your future. Most men don't realize how easily desire for significance distorts reality. You tell yourself, I mattered to her, but often what you mean is, I imagined mattering. There's a difference, and it's brutal. One lives in reality, the other lives in the fantasy you built to soothe your ego. Are you remembering her, or are you remembering what you want her to see? That distinction is everything. Cognitive bias is relentless. Selective memory tricks you into thinking every smile, every laugh, every delayed reply was proof of importance. Your mind edits reality like a cheap director, cutting out the moments that don't support the narrative you crave. This is why men replay conversations, imagine outcomes, and obsess over gestures that were never meant to signal permanence. He didn't call you because you weren't enough. He didn't text because he owed you anything. He existed in that moment. Nothing more, nothing less. He didn't reject your presence to teach a lesson. He revealed where your attention had become dependent on imagined significance. Picture this. He replayed her laugh every night, each memory polished and framed in his mind to make him feel central. She wasn't there. He was. Every imagined gesture, every remembered glance was a construct of his longing, not evidence of reality. He was frozen in time, trapped in scenarios that only existed in his imagination, while life moved on outside his room. If he fantasizes about her attention, you focus on tangible results. You measure worth by what you create, what you build, not by the shadows she casts in your mind. This is how power is reclaimed. This is how self-respect grows, while others remain anchored to your projections. Ask yourself, are you cherishing her presence, or are you addicted to the idea that she validated your existence? Are you building your life, or are you rehearsing old scenes over and over, polishing them to feel significant? Every imagined smile, every replayed conversation is a trap. It's a cage you built for yourself. Micro story. He scrolls through old voice notes, memorizing the tone of her laugh, imagining her leaning closer in every memory. He thinks these moments prove he mattered. The truth, they only prove he's stuck in the fantasy of significance, not in the reality of his own agency. Reframe it. He didn't ignore you because you lacked value. He ignored you because your value depended on his attention. She didn't flirt to confirm your importance. She flirted with a presence that had no lasting weight. Recognizing this flips the script. Your obsession ends, your standards begin. Rhetorical question. Are you living for imagined approval, or are you taking tangible steps to matter to yourself? The fantasy may feel comforting, but comfort doesn't build strength. Reality does. Reality demands presence, action, and control over your story. Most men confuse rejection with personal failure. A text goes unanswered, a call ignored, and suddenly their self-worth is in pieces. The ego is relentless. It whispers, "She didn't value you, you're not enough." But here's the brutal truth. Her attention never defined your value. Your standards do. Every obsession with closure is ego feeding itself, trying to validate what was never in her hands. Social media makes this trap lethal. Every post you scroll, every story you peek at, becomes evidence, or imagined evidence, of your importance. Every like she gives someone else, every laugh you see captured online, your mind rewrites as proof that you failed. It's not reality. It's perception amplified, distorted, weaponized by your own insecurities. He didn't ignore your messages to punish you. He ignored them to show you where your focus had been misaligned. She didn't flirt to make you crave attention. She flirted with her own freedom, reflecting the attention you allowed her to command. Rhetorical question: do you want her back, or just the part of yourself that needed her approval? Do you chase answers to soothe your ego, or do you chase mastery to reclaim presence? There's a difference. Validation is temporary, value is permanent. Validation comes from what others give. Value comes from what you cultivate. Imagine this. He posts their inside joke on Instagram, captioned vaguely, hoping she notices. He waits, staring at the screen, refreshing endlessly. He doesn't get closure, he gets exposure, his need on display for everyone to see. His ego is loud, public and transparent. Every replay, every like, every imagined meaning is a reminder he gave his power away to absence. If he seeks validation from absence, you cultivate presence in reality. Build something tangible. Invest in routines, results, actions, things that cannot vanish when she scrolls past. Your significance is not a reaction, it's a creation. Micro story, he texts her late at night, crafting every word carefully, imagining it will provoke a reply. Hours pass, nothing. He feels invisible, small, inadequate. The truth, he was only reacting, not creating. He was giving his power away to someone who never owed him anything. Reframe it. He didn't reject you to show your flaws. He revealed where your standards were weak. She didn't withhold attention to punish you. She reflected how much you needed external validation to feel whole. Recognize this, and suddenly the obsession makes no sense. The ego loses its grip. Rhetorical question: are you living to appease her narrative? Or are you building your own? Are you measuring your worth in responses or in results? Every moment spent chasing closure is a moment surrendered to illusion. The key is presence. Show up in your own life, in your own actions, in your own standards. Presence cannot be stolen. Presence cannot be ignored. Presence is proof that you matter to yourself first, before anyone else. He didn't leave you powerless. You left yourself powerless by letting attention dictate your self-esteem. She didn't define your value. You defined it by reaction instead of creation. Stop reacting, start building, stop chasing validation, start creating permanence. Silent treatments, mixed signals, delayed replies. Every man thinks these are puzzles to solve, clues to decode. They're not, they're tools. Tools she uses to measure how much power you've already handed over. And here's the truth you don't want to hear. The moment you chase explanations, texts, or calls, you reinforce her control. Every ping of your phone is a chain around your wrist, and you're the one holding it. Ask yourself this: is she playing games, or are you giving her the board? Most men confuse the two. They think manipulation lives in her behavior. It doesn't. Manipulation lives in the acceptance of it. Your attention becomes the lever she pulls to measure significance. That late reply isn't a punishment, it's a mirror showing how much you surrendered. He didn't ghost to hurt you. He revealed the gaps in your standards. She didn't withhold attention to confuse you. She reflected how much you invested your self-worth in her reactions. Every moment you beg, get angry, or feel sad, thinking it will buy closure, you're reinforcing the very pattern that traps you. Emotions are not currency, and validation cannot be purchased with desperation. Imagine this: he checked his phone every hour, each ping not a message but a reminder that he'd surrendered control. The vibration was louder than words. Every glance at the screen tightened the rope he wrapped around himself. He thought he was waiting for her. In reality, he was waiting for a release that never existed. If he plays tug of war for answers, you remove your rope. Step back. Stop reacting. Build instead. Presence, results, and standards cannot be bargained for. They must be cultivated, defended, and prioritized above anyone else's narrative. Rhetorical question: are you chasing texts to feel seen, or are you creating a life that demands recognition without begging? Are you living to react, or are you living to lead? The difference defines power. The difference defines respect. Micro story. He sends a carefully crafted message at midnight, imagining it will provoke a reply. Hours pass. Silence. Every imagined scenario, every hopeful thought crumbles. The lesson hits slowly. Chasing significance in absence is giving power away for free. Reframe it. He didn't withhold attention to torment you. He exposed where your reliance on external validation left you vulnerable. She didn't delay replies to assert dominance. She reflected the emotional leash you had tied to yourself. Awareness shifts the lens. Suddenly, the blackmail isn't external, it's internal. Anger, sadness, or begging does nothing. Closure isn't bought. Respect isn't begged for. Strength is earned in the quiet, in the moments you refuse to react. The tug of war ends when you remove your rope. Every ping, every imagined slight, every thought of maybe if I just, is a test you no longer participate in. Stop giving her the game. Stop handing over the board. Show up in your own life. Enforce your standards and measure significance in your actions, not her responses. That's where freedom starts. That's where real self-respect lives. Most men live trapped in the illusion that they mattered. They confuse fleeting attention with influence, believing that a text, a like, a laugh somehow confirms permanence. Here's the brutal truth. Genuine influence is measured by the impact you create, not by the shadows of imagined importance. Ask yourself, did she respect you, or did you respect the idea that she should? Too often men worship a story they wrote in their own minds, not the reality in front of them. Replaying old interactions is addictive because it feels safe. Your mind edits reality like a director, highlighting every smile, every delayed reply, every funny emoji as evidence of significance. But significance isn't proven in messages. It's lived in presence, action, and self-respect. Every hour spent revisiting her words is an hour surrendered to a fantasy, a surrender that costs time, energy, and dignity. He didn't respond slowly to punish you. He responded as he wished. She didn't tease or flirt to validate your importance. She simply existed within her own freedom, unaware that you had tied your ego to her attention. The trap is internal, not external. You created the narrative that made you dependent on it. Imagine this. He saved every message, every emoji, every little reaction she gave, each one polished in his mind like proof that he mattered. The reality? There was no proof, only obsession, only the slow erosion of standards, self-respect, and emotional energy. He measured significance in absence instead of creating it in presence. If he wants to feel important in her story, you create importance in yours. You don't wait for validation from absence. You build tangible results. You cultivate skills, routines, and presence. You make your mark where it can't vanish with a swipe. That's real significance. That's power. Rhetorical question: are you living to be remembered by her? Or are you living to create a life that demands recognition from yourself? First, are you obsessed with being central in someone else's narrative, or are you central in your own? The answers separate men who lead from men who linger. Reframe it. He didn't ignore you to diminish your value. He exposed where you had given it away. She didn't withhold attention to manipulate. She reflected the dependence you cultivated on imagined importance. Once you see it, obsession loses its charm. Your energy returns, your time returns, your standards return. The psychological cost is real. Hours lost to memory, energy wasted on speculation, self-respect chipped away by fantasies of significance. Every mental replay reinforces the illusion that your value comes from her attention rather than your actions. Break that cycle. Redirect the desire to master yourself, to build skills, to define standards that cannot be ignored. Micro story. He scrolls through old chat threads at midnight, memorizing every pause, every emoji, every laugh, imagining it proves he mattered. He doesn't see that what he is holding on to isn't her attention. It's the fantasy of importance he created. Obsession is the price he pays for clinging to imagined significance. Rhetorical question: are you holding on to someone who defines you, or are you defining yourself in a way no one can erase? Every minute spent chasing a ghost is a minute surrendered to fantasy. Every action you take to create real influence is a minute reclaimed for self-mastery. The pivot is clear. Stop feeding the fantasy. Stop polishing old messages like evidence. Stop trying to matter in someone else's story. Start creating impact where it counts. Build, act, enforce standards, and reclaim your presence. That is where true power lives. That is where self-respect is earned. Stop living in her story. Shift your focus. Results, not reactions. Your energy belongs to what you build, not what you chase. Every text she ignores, every delayed reply, is a test you don't need to take. Presence beats absence. Action beats speculation. The moment you stop measuring yourself by her attention, you reclaim power. Are you living your life or critiquing her? Micro-strategies matter. Selective communication. No over-analysis. Delete the threads you obsess over. Stop imagining meaning in every ping. Stop replaying old conversations like a bad movie. Your story is yours, and it grows when you refuse to anchor it to someone else's behavior. Every habit, every routine, every step you take outside her orbit builds presence, confidence, and self-respect. He didn't ghost you to confuse you. He exposed where your standards allowed dependency. She didn't withhold replies to teach a lesson. She revealed how much power you surrendered to absence. Recognizing this, you stop overreacting and start overbuilding. Imagine this. He deleted the chat thread. For the first time, he wasn't waiting. He was moving. The anxiety dissolved slightly, replaced by clarity. Every minute previously spent in anticipation now fueled routines. Gym sessions, work, and skills. Obsession evaporated because focus shifted from someone else's reactions to tangible results in his own life. If he obsesses over her absence, you obsess over your presence. Build routines that reinforce self-respect. Morning rituals, disciplined work, consistent habits, and time with people who elevate you. Action creates permanence. Attention creates dependency. Your presence in reality matters far more than imagined. Significance in absence. Rhetorical question. Are you waiting for validation? Or are you creating influence? Are you critiquing her decisions? Or are you crafting your own story? The difference defines a man who commands respect from himself versus one who begs for it from others. Reframe it. He didn't disappear to control you. He revealed where your attention was misallocated. She didn't withhold replies to hurt you. She reflected how much you let imagined importance dictate your emotions. Once you internalize this, detachment becomes natural, not forced. Every step you take focused on results builds immunity against the traps of fantasy significance. Every habit, every accomplishment, every disciplined choice reminds you who owns the story. Power grows in the absence of chasing others' validation. Presence grows where obsession fades. Micro-story. He wakes up at dawn, runs 3 miles, journals, and hits work with intensity. No text checked, no past messages replayed, no imagined reactions dissected. He feels control returning, self-respect building, clarity settling in. Every decision reinforces that his life is his, not hers, and significance is self-generated. Stop giving attention to absence. Stop feeding the fantasy. Start obsessing over presence. Build routines that honor your standards. Show up in the world fully, unapologetically, and watch as your story grows independently of anyone else. Standards are the armor every man needs to prevent chasing illusions. Without them, you settle for crumbs, scraps of attention, tiny gestures masquerading as significance. Ask yourself, do you accept crumbs to feel valued? Every time you compromise for attention, you train yourself to be reactive, dependent, and small. Standards aren't optional. They're the line between presence and obsession, respect and surrender. He didn't call to control you. He revealed where your boundaries were weak. She didn't ignore you to punish you. She reflected how much you tolerated emotional scraps. The truth is brutal. Without non-negotiables, you hand over power willingly. Recognizing limits in attention, time, and respect is the first step towards self-respect. Micro story. He said no to a late-night call he knew would unsettle him. For the first time, refusal felt like power, not loss. Every instinct to please, every fear of missing out, collided with his standards, and standards won. That moment of saying no became a foundation, not just a boundary. Early stage exercises matter. Identify what you will never compromise: your sleep, your routines, your mental clarity. Practice saying no without apology. Reject texts, calls, or invitations that undermine your focus. Every refusal reinforces that significance is earned through respect, not begged through fantasy. If he compromises for attention, you refuse to compromise for fantasy. You don't chase. You don't negotiate your worth. You act in alignment with your rules, and every moment of self-discipline strengthens presence and power. Rhetorical question: are you building a life that commands respect, or are you scaffolding illusions that only satisfy the ego? Are you honoring your time, your energy, your standards, or are you bending to someone else's whims to feel important? The answers separate men who lead from men who linger. Reframe it. He didn't try to manipulate you. He revealed the cracks in your standards. She didn't withhold attention to punish you. She reflected the compromises you were willing to accept. Recognize this, and refusal becomes clarity, not denial. Selectivity is your tool. Attention, energy, and care are finite. Invest them where they produce results, where standards are met. Respect is mutual, and presence is genuine. Every small exercise in refusal is a rehearsal for larger victories: self-respect, autonomy, and emotional sovereignty. Micro story. He ignored a late-night message that would have pulled him into drama. He focused instead on morning workouts, work tasks, and reading. The day felt lighter, sharper, controlled. His presence in his life grew while fantasy significance faded. Standards are the filter between real influence and imagined importance. They protect time, energy, and self-respect. Begin small. Practice refusal, honor boundaries, and watch as the men who once dictated your attention lose relevance. The power is yours if you refuse to compromise. Stillness is a weapon most men never learn to wield. Impulses push you to reply, to explain, to chase, always chasing what you think you lost. Ask yourself, do you need her response, or can you thrive in silence? True power is measured not by words spoken, but by the calm you carry while the world spins around you. Observation is leverage. Watching without reacting gives insight. You see patterns, intentions, weaknesses, and strengths without surrendering dignity. He didn't speak to assert control. He observed to understand. She didn't dominate the room to punish him. She revealed her approach while he maintained presence. The balance is subtle, but it shifts everything. Micro story. He sat across the room, silent while she talked. Power isn't in the words he said. It's in the calm he radiated. Every glance, every gesture he ignored, every smile unreturned was a statement louder than any argument. Stillness communicates mastery, because it signals you are untouchable by petty games. Rhetorical question: are you reacting to stimuli, or are you creating space for strategy? Are you filling silence with anxiety, or are you commanding it with presence? Every man who rushes gives away control. Every man who waits collects it. If he acts impulsively, you cultivate stillness. You don't fill gaps with words. You fill them with presence. You measure influence in what you accomplish quietly, not in frantic attempts to reclaim attention. Stillness amplifies power. Haste diminishes it. Reframe it. He didn't speak because he needed to be heard. He spoke when necessary, guided by standards. She didn't dominate conversation to belittle him. She revealed dynamics he could now navigate with clarity. Recognizing this difference turns patience into leverage and calm into strategy. Silence isn't emptiness. It's a signal of strength. It communicates confidence, control, and emotional independence. Men who understand stillness act selectively, respond intentionally, and reclaim power without surrendering dignity. Presence becomes visible through calm, not through noise. Micro story. He sips his drink, listening as she speaks animatedly. Others are tense, reacting, trying to insert themselves. He remains composed, unaffected. Observers notice. Respect shifts toward him without a single word. Stillness is louder than argument, sharper than action, more revealing than words. Rhetorical question. Are you filling space to feel secure? Or are you using it to demonstrate mastery? The choice defines every interaction, every pause, every measured glance, every quiet decision signals who truly holds power. The strategy is simple. Resist impulses, cultivate calm, observe without surrendering, and act selectively. Stillness isn't passive, it's deliberate, tactical, and brutally effective. Those who master it don't chase significance, they command it. Emotional exhaustion, endless replaying of old scenarios. If you're doing this, stop pretending it's a reflection. It's an obsession. Ask yourself, are you interacting or performing for memories? Most men don't realize they're living in a highlight reel of their own imagination, mistaking fantasy for significance. The signs are subtle, but the consequences are brutal. Anxiety, dependence, and a slow erosion of self-respect. He didn't fail because she ignored him. He failed because he confused absence with importance. She didn't manipulate him. She revealed the gaps in how he allocated his attention and energy. Recognizing this is brutal, but clarity always follows honesty. Micro story. He realized he hadn't moved on because he wasn't living. He was curating an audience of ghosts. Every message he reread, every imagined interaction, every hope for acknowledgement was a performance for memories that no longer existed. The life he thought he was reclaiming was already gone. All that remained was obsession. Internal checklist. Obsession over past interactions, anxiety triggered by absence, dependence on attention. These are not feelings to endure, they are alarms signaling you've been chasing a fantasy. When you see them, stop rationalizing, stop hoping, stop reacting to ghosts. If he confuses memory with mattering, you measure impact by action, not emotion. Influence, his significance and respect are earned in presence, not imagined in absence. Every step you take in reality counts more than 1,000 thoughts about what could have been. Rhetorical question. Are you building a life, or are you curating a story that only exists in your mind? Are you honoring yourself, or are you giving power to an illusion? The distinction defines whether you lead or linger. Reframe it. He didn't haunt your past to punish you. He exposed where your reliance on attention left you vulnerable. She didn't leave signals to confuse you. She reflected the degree to which you chased fantasy over substance. Awareness shifts everything. The fantasy loses power, and reality regains control. The markers are clear. Emotional fatigue, obsessive memory loops, anxiety triggered by absence, and dependence on external acknowledgement. Recognize them, name them, measure significance by action, presence and standards, not by imagined relevance in someone else's story. That is how you escape the trap of fantasy and reclaim real power. Every moment of perceived rejection is a mirror. It isn't about her, it's about you. Your clarity, your standards, your response. Ask yourself, are you reacting to her behavior or to the gaps in your own boundaries? Every disappointment is data, every frustration a map showing where your standards were weak. He didn't ignore you, he tested your boundaries. She didn't reject you, she rejected the version of you that wasn't ready. He didn't play hard to get, he mirrored your emotional availability. She didn't move on easily, she reflected the standards you didn't enforce. Each reflection is brutal, but truthful. It shows you where power was surrendered, where attention was misallocated, and where obsession disguised itself as care. Microstory, he waits by the phone, checking each ping, heart racing. Then he pauses, realizes he isn't responding to her actions. He's reacting to the chaos inside him. In that moment, clarity arrives. Boundaries matter more than messages, presence more than attention, standards more than imagined importance. If he tests you, you measure, you don't chase. You observe, adapt, and enforce rules. Every misstep he reveals is an opportunity to strengthen your framework, not to beg for forgiveness or explanations. Your energy is finite. Invest it where respect and consistency are real. Rhetorical question. Are you interpreting actions as judgment, or are you translating them into data? Are you chasing narratives, or are you building an unshakable presence? Each moment of misperceived rejection can either pull you down or push you higher, depending on how you read the mirror. Reframe it. He didn't lie. He revealed what you refused to see. She didn't move on to hurt you. She reflected where your attention, standards, and emotional sovereignty were weak. Recognizing this, obsession turns into insight, frustration into clarity, and fantasy into actionable rules. Your mission: translate every no, every delay, every withdrawal into lessons for self-respect, autonomy, and power. Obsession becomes allocation. Pain becomes information. Fantasy becomes strategy. The mirror isn't punishment. It's a blueprint for higher standards, firmer rules, and a life where significance is earned, not imagined. Microstory. He journals his reactions, notes where he overinvested, and rewrites his approach. No begging, no chasing, just observation, adaptation, and rule setting. By the end of the week, he's no longer reactive. He's calibrated, disciplined, and untouchable in his presence. Every reflection is an opportunity. Every test is a lesson. Every perceived rejection is a chance to sharpen standards and reclaim power. You don't chase illusions, you enforce reality. You don't respond to chaos. You measure, adapt, and elevate. Your standards are for behavior, not identity. You don't control who someone is. You respond to how they act. Ask yourself, are you enforcing respect or punishing a personality? He didn't disrespect you to hurt you. He revealed the gaps in your boundaries. She didn't ignore consent to test you. She showed where clarity was lacking. Microstory. He held firm when she tried to push him into a decision he wasn't ready for. His calm, firm stance didn't provoke anger. It earned respect. Presence mattered more than compliance. If he violates your rules, you enforce them. You don't manipulate. You don't plead. You act. Consent is non-negotiable. Choice is sovereign. Your power comes from discipline, not coercion. Every boundary you hold reinforces self-respect and presence. Rhetorical questions: are you bending rules to feel control? Or are you upholding standards that reinforce dignity? Are you shaping behavior or chasing compliance from fantasy? Ethical enforcement separates men who lead from men who linger. He didn't punish you. He tested the clarity of your limits. She didn't deny you, she reflected the standards you failed to enforce. Recognize this and self-respect becomes armor. Manipulation loses power. Presence becomes undeniable. Your work is simple. Uphold standards, respect choice, and cultivate a presence that commands attention without bending to whims.